The ancient Egyptians believed that no sky, earth, gods, men, animals, or plants existed before creation. There was only an immense void they called none that contained Atum, the beginning of all things. In the 19th century, a curious papyrus was found in the excavations of ancient Thebes, in which Ra himself describes his own creation. It was I that came into existence, like Jepri. When I came into existence, being came into existence. And all beings came into existence after I came into existence. The Bremner-Rhind papyrus and the primitive texts of the pyramids were the first representations of the Egyptians on the world's creation and the origins of the gods. Atum became aware of himself, and Ra, the sun, appeared. Then he named Shu, and the winds started to blow. Afterwards, he called out Tefnut, and it started to rain. Shu and Tefnut had two children, Geb, the earth, and Nut, the sky. Since Geb and Nut got married, Nut is always over Geb, the sky over the earth. The stars were born from their union. Geb and Nut begot Osiris, Isis, Seth, and Nephthys, and they spawned the multitudes that inhabit this land.
Cuando el demiurgo
When Ra, or the demiurge, created the world, he established order and justice and cast the forces of chaos to a distant, separate plane of that ordered world, that just world that Ra created, and where obviously gods and men also appeared. Nonetheless, those forces of chaos that stayed just outside of the perfect world created never ceased to threaten Ra and the order established upon creation.
In their eagerness to understand the world around them, the Egyptians started to build a complex magical universe. From the texts of the pyramids, written around 2350 BC, the scribes and priests started to update the texts in accordance with the evolution of the religious ideas, until the Book of the Dead came about in 1300 BC. "200 years earlier, however, they thought they had solved the enigma of Ra. They deducted that two different worlds coexisted, the one we see and the one where Ra wandered through the night and the deceased inhabited, a mysterious place they called the Underworld.
Besides the real world, the plane where their activities took place, the ancient Egyptians believed that there was another world, a world where a series of deities and other beings lived alongside the deceased in different levels of existence. The underworld was primarily a place of darkness. Darkness is precisely one of the main characteristics of that place, that space. A place where the rays of the sun only shine when the god Ra enters it, bringing light to the souls, beings, and gods that live there. On some occasions, the underworld is a fertile place that reminds us of the shores of the Nile. In others, it's a barren, rocky place inhabited by evil beings that jeopardize the order of creation. Along with the drawings, the hieroglyphs allow us to understand the meaning of the images. Through this written language and the drawings emerges a world that describes to us the reality from not only 5,000 or 2,000 years ago, but also beyond that. Through those words and images, ancient Egypt reaches a reality that is definitely more stable than the actual reality of its everyday life. For that reality has remained consistent until today. Based on the words and the images, we have the chance to submerge in that spiritual world and find out even the tiniest details.
Und bis ins kleinste Detail über sie informiert zu werden.
The first depictions of the enigmatic underworld are present in the tomb of Thutmose I, a pharaoh of the 18th dynasty, around 1500 BC. It's the Book of Amduat, the book of that which is in the underworld, or the Book of the Hidden Room. The way they imagined the underworld boggles the imagination. The Book of Amduat shows the geography of the afterlife, individually detailing each of the 12 hours of Ra's nocturnal journey. The texts and drawings completed each other with several funerary formulas. Those formulas' main purpose was to help the pharaoh to transform himself in his journey alongside the sun and attain with Ra his daily resurrection.
Even the lengths of the regions that the sun god passes through are indicated. Very exaggerated lengths. For instance, from the western door through which Ra enters the underworld and the region of Hermes, the mentioned distance is 120 iterus, an Egyptian distance measurement unit that would correspond to 1,200 kilometers. Ra entered the underworld through the western door of the horizon. In that first hour, that entire region vibrates with joy. After 12 hours, Ra's light shines over the land and all rejoice with his arrival. Ra will also distribute fields among the inhabitants, deities, and beings, organize their lives, manage their possessions, and act pretty much like a sovereign that manages and rules the territory.
Ra travels in a barge during the 12 hours of the night. He's actually represented in his Ba, his goat-headed spirit, which is standing under a dossel. Alongside him in his barge, a crew of 8 gods. During the first hours in the barge, Ra navigates through a river that crosses the underworld. But from the 4th hour on, the river disappears, and Ra's barge is towed by ropes powered by the magic of the gods. On the 7th hour, the goddess Isis and the oldest wizard will repel Ra's eternal enemy, the serpent Apep.
At the end of the journey, and with Ra's regeneration completed, the sun god, no longer as Ba, but as the beetle Khepri, is welcomed by Shu, the god that separates the sky from the earth, and finally leaves the underworld to enter the world of the living by the eastern door.
It's difficult to know what Egyptians understood by God. Up until recently, we've tried to explain Egyptian mythology using our own religious concepts and way of thinking, and that was a mistake. The main error was not to differentiate between the written language, hieroglyphs and drawings, and the oral language, which was the most important one. Regrettably, we don't have any sound records available. During more than 3,000 years, the Egyptians developed and perfected their cosmology. But their biggest obsession was to implore the gods to ensure eternity by overcoming the earthly death.